managing director of Dallas Fort Worth, managing director of the Charlotte office, then vice president of the Mid-Atlantic region, and then vice president for leadership and development. As a managing director, the role was to, advance the growth of the local market, work with the board of directors, manage staff, work with students, execute all the programming and so forth. On the regional level, that role was to make sure that the folks in the other offices within the region were doing some of those exact same jobs. So definitely more extensive leadership, more of a presence throughout the organization. It also involved being, at the table and helping to make decisions about the direction of the organization. For leadership development, I was responsible for all of the training and development programs for interns as well as for staff. The top 10 things that were important for me to have in a position, my tenure at INROADS probably met 9 out of those 10 on a fairly consistent basis. It was challenging. It was rewarding to feel like you were helping a young person move from one stage in their life in terms of, coming from high school and then coming to college and, having an opportunity. And then from there, moving into, young adulthood or as a young professional and feeling like you've had some input on helping to make that happen. So definitely, challenging. You deal with a lot of different personalities from the student side as well as the corporate side. And so just being able to manage all of that was key. But the other thing was probably the most important thing for me was feeling like you were changing the face of corporate America by getting students or young people in place who could make a contribution to an organization. And, hands down for me, even if it was one student, that was at least trying to make some progress toward that. I'd say the relationships were very good. There were times when maybe you had people who, weren't so convinced and, thought, okay, we're just kind of doing this to go through the motions to say that we've done it. But then once they really recognized the talent of the students we were bringing to them, that made all the difference in the world. So, the other side of that was feeling like in some instances, you had people who were just as committed to trying to, getting good talent for their organizations. And, if you were that source for them, then great. The other side of that is in some instances, your corporate sponsors were also your competitors. Because some of them also had their own internal programs. And so, I think we spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we were doing the kinds of things that ensured success for our students that maybe they weren't doing. So we were able to kind of, show a difference there. But I'd say overall, the relationships were good. They took time in some instances to really, kind of get people motivated. But I'd say overall, those relationships were strong. The main challenges, let's see, some of those challenges I think were at the director's level. You spent a lot of time in sales and, that sometimes you didn't always get a chance to have that strong level of interaction with the students that you may have wanted. And so, some of it was just, kind of time and resources. I think in some instances, resources was a challenge for the organization. I'd say that probably at all of those levels. While we had a lot of corporate support, I think that we still had some limitations of some things we wanted to do because we didn't always have the financial resources or the people resources, or in some instances, maybe even the technical resources that we may have needed, for the organization. Um, Other challenges, I think, were as we became more successful, I think other programs trying to duplicate some of what we were doing. That's other external programs. And again, as well as some of your corporate sponsors doing, some of trying to duplicate some of those same kinds of things. Um, I also think that at some point, um, students, um, kind of became a little bit different as well. Maybe they were not, I think at some point, students maybe were not as um, hungry for some of the opportunities that may have been there because they had a whole lot of different options. And so, in some instances, there were some students that, thought this was just the best thing since sliced bread. And then there were other instances where students were like, oh, yeah, well, okay, they didn't take it as seriously as they needed to. So, that just trying to make all of the entities understand the value of what we were trying to do. I think that was one of the challenges. Um, Continuing to keep and retain and hire and retain good talent in terms of people who were willing to give the kind of hours and time, weekends and so forth that inroads required back during the day. In the day, that was another challenge, I think, for us. I think what it has done is really made me value um, the importance of having an impact on people's lives. Um, Being able to, like I said, take someone from this point to this point and see them develop um, has really kind of shaped some of the things that I do since I left INROADS in terms of continuing to place an importance on helping young people develop, or even helping other professionals, sometimes seasoned professionals, excel in the things that they're trying to do. Um, Other ways that it has impacted my life, um, it has made me value the relationships with people. There are folks that I've worked with inroads that I'm not only was not only colleagues with, but we remain, very good friends. The other thing is a lot of my students I'm still friends with, as I'm now friends with, and they a lot of times they share things in terms of the difference that inroads made in their lives. And, that has really made me feel good in that, like I said, I feel like I had a part of that. So it's continued to shape my, some of the things that I do professionally. Inroads required you to kind of treat the business almost like your own business, and that has also helped me in other things that I'm doing, from my own business, to have that business acumen. It's helped with that, but most important, it's helped me to really learn the importance of valuing the relationships that you have. I felt like the mission was right on target. It was something that I bought into that I believed in terms of what we were overall trying to do. And, that for me, you know, making sure that programs and activities that we were doing were in line with that mission, that's what was key for me. And, I certainly felt like we were trying to um, do as much as we could to make that mission happen, to make it a true reality. And so I learned a lot more once I got to INROADS around selling, interacting with senior executives, being able to speak the language that they spoke, as well as understanding how business works. And because I wasn't a business major, coming or had a lot of business background coming into the organization. So for me, that definitely was a learning experience. I'd always been involved in areas related to leadership development and learning. And so then later moving into that leadership development role, I think really stretched me in a number of ways from a learning standpoint, not only for my own self, but also having the opportunity to just really kind of understand what leadership actually looks like and how to how I could make sure that I was doing the kinds of things to be an effective leader. I'd say some of the most memorable experiences were the student conferences that we had back when we used to bring all of the students, all the interns together for different conferences that we had. For me, just seeing the when you've got all that talent in one room, and you've got young people who are just, they're out there doing all kinds of creative kinds of things. They've got all kinds of different job opportunities. They've got, they're creative, they're leaders on their campus. I mean, that's a lot all in one place. And so the student conferences were probably most memorable. Staff conferences, we worked hard, but we like to play hard too. And we've had, I won't go into specific conferences that were probably more memorable than others, but staff conferences were definitely, are things that I still, I know we still have stories about conferences, but we used to have a lot of fun, but a lot of hard work, lots of hard work. Other things that were most memorable, the having the chance to really interact with leaders of major corporations that were, on not only our boards, but even our national board. Some of those you just would not have had, I would not have had the opportunity to meet some of these folks were it not for INROADS. But when you're talking about CEOs and presidents of major organizations, not everybody can have that opportunity. So, that was something that's very memorable to me. One of our interns who was president of our student association was killed in a car accident on the way to intern training. And I had been just furious because I'm like, she's supposed to be here. She's supposed to do this. She's supposed to do that. She's not here. What's going on? I was just really, really, getting upset that she wasn't there. And then to find out, why was, of course, devastating. It was devastating to the staff. It was devastating to the other interns. And to see the interns kind of rally around each other and the staff and provide support. And, us just, kind of really bonding a lot more, just over that situation was phenomenal. And it took years for, I think, all of us to not catch our breath when her name was mentioned or something like that. Her family provided a scholarship every year for several years for the students, which was, very, very special. But it was, like I said, it was a very difficult time, but we managed to get through it. But that's one event that, for forever, will stay with me in terms of things that happened while I was in INROADS. We expected them to give their all, primarily too, because we were giving our all to do things for them and with them. And I know for the students that I worked with, I had very high expectations. And, they knew, you best be doing what you need to do because anything, other than that is not going to be acceptable and, it'll get you kicked out of the program. But more so, I think it was helping them, just like we felt like as staff, we were trying to make a difference in corporate America, helping them understand that this was their chance to do the same thing. I think became real important in everything that we emphasize to students. And I know that I always like to emphasize the fact that I'm trying to help you not make mistakes that we know other people have made, which has been detrimental to their success and detrimental to their careers. We don't want you going down that path. And so the lessons that we're giving you are those things that we know ultimately are going to help you be successful. And I think that's why a lot of our alumni come back and say, I get it. Okay. Now I see. Now I get it. And, that's, like I said, students that I'm still, or former students that I'm in touch with, that's what I get from them all the time. It's like, okay, you said this is probably what was going on, and now I see. Or I have former students that call me now that say, look, I'm about to make a job change. Tell me what you think about X, Y, and Z. And were that trust not there in terms of their trust in our having their best interest at heart, I don't think we would be getting that from a lot of the former students who, were a part of the process. So yes, I think that for the students that we worked with, for the majority of them, we were able to help them understand the importance of everything you can to be successful in your career, in your life, both, personal and professional. So, like I said, they're probably the best ones for you to ask. What do you think about INROADS, and did they help you become successful? And I would think probably most of them are going to say yes. I find that there's not another opportunity out there that can provide me all of that feeling like I'm making that difference, along with everything that came along with being a part of the organization. It's not out there. And so you might find different pieces of or I found pieces of what I've got from INROADS, but I've not been able to find another organization that's going to give me all of what I got from INROADS. So that's why I have my own business. So that I can do it myself, but create it myself. But that's it's not out there. It's not out